Hello and welcome to Crumbs Doilies HQ. Now today's recipe is for a bit of an American classic. It's called a black bottom cupcake, and what that is a really moist chocolatey sponge with a tangy cream cheese kind of cheesecake bit in the middle and topped with cream cheese icing, so this is going to be super tasty. So the first thing I'm going to make is the cream cheese like cheesecake filling. It's not really a filling actually, it's more like a kind of blob that goes on the top, and it kind of bakes not through the whole sponge, but it kind of makes a really nice tangy surprise on the top of the sponge. And it's very straightforward. You can do this in a big mixer like me, or you can do it with just a regular whisk or even a hand whisk, an electric hand whisk. I'm going to start by putting my cream cheese in the bowl. I've got 285 grams of cream cheese. And then I'm going to add 60 grams of caster sugar, and then 1 large free-range egg. And then lastly, I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. And then that needs to go onto the mixer, or if you're just whisking it, under your hand. And using a balloon whisk attachment, I'm just going to beat that together for a few minutes actually, until it becomes quite pale and thick. It does take about 4 or 5 minutes. Right, that's been whipping up for about 5 minutes, and it is got much thicker. It's almost like thick custard at the moment. So I'm just going to pop that into a bowl because we're not going to use it yet. But before I put it into the fridge, I'm going to add the last ingredient, which is chocolate chips. And I've got 25 grams of chocolate chips. I'm just going to fold those through. And then once all your chocolate chips are nicely incorporated, you can then cover that in cling film and just pop that into the fridge for later. Okay, so now it's time for the chocolate cupcake batter. Now, I have tried this recipe using my regular chocolate batter, but it's a little bit runny. And what happens when I put the cheesecake mixture in is that it kind of mixes in a little bit too much. So I went about looking for a kind of sturdier, thicker batter so that that didn't happen and you had those separation between the cheesecake and the batter, the sponge. So with that in mind, I'm going to start mixing my wet ingredients together. So I've got 200 millilitres of just boiled water, and I'm going to add that to 80 millilitres of vegetable oil. And then add 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, which has got a really lovely flavour and a bit of a tang to it, and a teaspoon of good quality vanilla extract. And then give that a little mix with a whisk. And because there's not really much going on in there, it's not going to do much, it's not going to change much at all. But then over the top of that, directly over the top, using a sieve, I'm going to put my dry ingredients. So I've got 220 grams of plain flour, and then the same weight, 220 of caster sugar, and then 35 grams of good quality cocoa powder, and that is Dutch processed if anyone's wondering. And I've also got a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda and ½ teaspoon of salt. And then just mix that together until it's all smooth. Well, you'll see that it is quite a sort of, it's runny, but it's quite sticky. If it seems really liquidy, just leave it for a few minutes, maybe even put it in the fridge just to, not firm up, but just thicken up a little bit. Well, that looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to transfer my batter into a jug because it's very difficult to get this out neatly. And I have my cupcake tray already lined with paper cases, and this actually will make more than 12, maybe somewhere nearer 16 or 18, so have a spare tray knocking about. And I'm going to pour the batter into the cases, but only halfway up, so it's a little bit less than I would normally do. So that's one tray done. Now I just need to put the cheesecake bit onto the chocolate bit. So I'm going to use a tablespoon measure just so that it's an even amount on each one. And I'm going to scoop and put it directly onto the batter. Great, so I've got a little bit of cheesecake left over for my extra cupcakes, but I'm just gonna go ahead and bake these, and these need to be baked at 170 degrees C for around 18 to 20 minutes. And I would recommend putting a skewer inside because of the cheesecake bit on top, it's gonna be difficult to get a touch test because it's not exactly gonna spring up, so get your skewers out. While my cakes are baking in the oven, I'm gonna get on with making the decoration, which is just gonna be really simple white and dark chocolate shards. So I've actually already melted some white chocolate and some dark chocolate, just about 100 grams of each, if that, to be honest. I haven't added any super white to make the white chocolate whiter, just because it doesn't really need to on this cake, but if you want to do that, go right ahead. And yeah, all I need to do here is pour my dark chocolate onto a silpat, or if you don't have a silpat, you can use like greaseproof paper, but just make sure it's on a tray, a baking sheet or something like that, so you can move it around easily. And I'm going to spread that out just a little bit, not too much, but just to kind of thin it a little bit and make it a neater shape. And then with my white chocolate, I'm just going to kind of put a couple of dollops on it and wiggle it about with a skewer. That looks pretty wiggled to me. So now I'm just going to tap it onto the worktop just to flatten it out and get rid of any air bubbles as well. So that looks pretty flat to me. So I'm just going to pop this into the fridge just for a couple of minutes. I don't want to make it super duper hard. I just want to firm it up a little bit so I can score it. So this has had a couple of minutes in the fridge and it's still bendy, but it's still got a little bit of stick to it, which is good because I'm also going to jazz this up with a bit of gold leaf. But before I do, just a little scoring will make it a lot easier to break up when it's completely set. So now that I've scored it, before I put it back into the fridge, like I said, I'm going to jazz it up with some gold leaf. Now, gold leaf, you can buy this online. It needs to be food grade gold leaf, obviously, because you're going to eat it. And it is very tricky to work with. It's the lightest stuff in the land, lighter than feathers. So I've got a couple of paintbrushes here just to pick it up in little pieces and put it onto my chocolate. The chocolate, because it hasn't completely set, it's still ever so slightly tacky. So it's sticking really easily to the chocolate, but I'm just kind of pushing it into place gently with the paintbrush. It's very tricky stuff to work with, gold leaf. Now make sure when you're using your gold leaf, don't let anyone blow anything or sneeze or walk past that speed or anything, otherwise your gold leaf is gonna just blow all over the shop. But I have done my bit. I've used one sheet of gold leaf, so this is a very expensive bit of chocolate marble, and it's basically set now. But if yours hasn't set, just whack it back in the fridge until your cakes are ready to decorate. So that's my chocolate shards ready to use at the end, but I'm going to decorate them and I'm going to be using cream cheese icing, both in plain and chocolate flavours, and I have done a very extensive cream cheese icing masterclass video. So I'll put the link to that in the description box below, and you want to make half batches of each of the flavours, so the plain one and the chocolate one, and all the ingredients are in the description box for that video, so go and check that out. And I'm going to do a two-tone icing, and I'm going to start by putting my icing into a cling film roll. So when you've put your cling film wrap with both of your icings in and put it into your piping bag, just make sure that it's coming out with both flavours in. So now I'm just going to get on with decorating my cupcakes. They already look really awesome, but obviously we've got our very expensive gold flecked chocolate shards, so I'm going to decorate them with some of these as well. And there it is, the complete black bottom cupcake with its delicious gold flecked shards on top. And this is a very, very tasty cupcake. If you've never made this before, then I am excited for you. It's got a really nice mixture of sweet and tangy with the cream cheese cheesecake thing that's going on as well. So please make sure you take a picture of whatever you've baked, put it on Instagram, use the hashtag CupcakeJemma so that I can see it. I will be back this Sunday with a bake-along because it's been a while and you guys have been missing it apparently, so it's going to be a bake-along, and Instagram already has the shopping list, so go and check that out so you can get ready. And next week we're going to have another masterclass, but this one is going to be how to bake the perfect cupcake, because I know a lot of you struggle and I get lots and lots of questions about why your cakes have done this and why they've done that. So I'm going to break it down for you and hopefully answer lots of your questions. So I will see you then. In the meantime, enjoy these guys because they are well nice. Bye.